Most men never realize they are already owned. Not by chains, not by governments, not even by fear, but by reactions they never learn to control. A disrespectful comment changes their mood. A delayed message weakens their focus. A stranger's opinion quietly dictates their confidence. And they call this freedom because the prison is internal. Marcus Aurelius saw this nearly 2,000 years ago. Not from a mountain, not from a temple, but from the center of chaos itself. While men today collapse under notifications, temptations, and emotional impulses, this man ruled an empire drowning in war, betrayal, disease, corruption, famine, political manipulation, and death. Yet somehow, he became almost untouchable psychologically. That is why people still speak his name. Not because he conquered the world, but because he discovered something far more dangerous. He solved the human mind. And once you understand what he understood, your entire view of power changes. Because the strongest man in the room is rarely the loudest. He is the one who cannot be controlled. Most people hear the name Marcus Aurelius and imagine a calm philosopher sitting peacefully with ancient wisdom. That image is incomplete, dangerous, actually, because it hides the brutality of what he endured. Marcus Aurelius was not born into peace. He inherited pressure most men would mentally collapse under within weeks. By the time he became emperor the empire was already decaying beneath the surface. Enemies gathered at the borders. Political predators circled constantly. Plagues wiped out populations. Armies demanded victories. Citizens demanded stability. Senators demanded obedience while secretly planning betrayal. And every single mistake carried consequences measured in blood. Now imagine carrying that weight every morning while trying to remain rational. Most people cannot remain calm during traffic. Marcus had to remain calm while entire civilizations threatened to fall apart around him. That is the difference. And this is where the first uncomfortable truth appears. Your environment is training your mind whether you realize it or not. Most people today are being trained into weakness. Constant stimulation, constant distraction, constant emotional dependency. The modern world rewards impulsiveness because impulsive people are easier to influence. Marcus Aurelius trained himself differently. Every morning, he reminded himself that he would meet arrogance, dishonesty, selfishness, manipulation, ignorance, and disrespect. Not because he was negative, because he was prepared. There is a brutal psychological advantage in expecting human weakness instead of being shocked by it. Think about how many times your peace disappears simply because reality failed to match your expectations. You expected loyalty. You got betrayal. You expected recognition. You got silence. You expected discipline tomorrow. Tomorrow became another excuse. Marcus understood something most people never will. Expectation is often the first source of suffering, not events themselves. This is why weak men constantly feel attacked by life. Reality keeps violating the fantasy version they created in their heads. But Marcus stopped negotiating with reality. He studied it coldly. Human beings are emotional. People lie. Power changes behavior. Pleasure weakens discipline. Death comes for everyone. Nothing external stays stable. Once you fully accept this, something strange happens. You stop panicking. You stop personalizing everything. You stop expecting permanent comfort from temporary people. And suddenly your emotions become harder to manipulate. That is where real power begins. Not dominance over others, dominance over yourself. But Marcus did not arrive there naturally. That is the part people avoid. They want the wisdom without the internal war required to build it. Because Marcus Aurelius fought battles nobody saw. Not against enemies first, against himself, against anger, against ego, against fear, against exhaustion, against despair, against the constant temptation to become corrupted by power. Imagine waking up every day with absolute authority over millions of people. Most men would become addicted instantly. They would confuse influence with superiority. They would start believing the world exists to serve them. Marcus became more disciplined instead. That alone separates him from nearly every powerful figure in history. Because power reveals character more than hardship does. Hardship can make people temporarily humble. Power reveals what they truly worship. And Marcus feared becoming psychologically weak more than he feared losing status. Read that again carefully. He feared inner corruption more than outer failure. That is almost extinct today. Modern culture teaches people to optimize appearance before character. look successful, sound confident, perform intelligence, display status. Meanwhile internally they are collapsing from comparison, insecurity, overstimulation, emotional dependency, and lack of purpose. Marcus would have seen directly through this. Because he understood one terrifying truth. A man who cannot govern himself cannot govern anything else. Not a business, not a relationship, not a family, not even his own attention. And attention is the real battlefield now. Every app wants it, every algorithm hunts it, every distraction profits from its destruction. Your attention determines your future because whatever controls your focus eventually controls your identity. Marcus knew this long before technology existed. That is why he constantly observed his own mind. Not casually, ruthlessly. He treated his thoughts like a gatekeeper protecting a city under siege. Most people allow any thought to enter. Jealousy enters, fear enters, lust enters, bitterness enters, victimhood enters. Then they wonder why their life feels chaotic. Marcus understood that repeated thoughts become internal architecture. Your mind slowly becomes whatever you repeatedly feed it. And here is where the universe he solved begins to reveal itself. He realized human suffering follows patterns. Not random chaos, patterns. People chase pleasure endlessly, then become empty. People avoid pain endlessly, then become weak. People seek validation endlessly, then lose themselves. People fear death endlessly, then forget to live. Centuries pass. The pattern repeats. Technology changes. Human nature barely does. That is why his words still feel personal today. Because he was not studying trends. He was studying the operating system beneath humanity itself. And what he discovered was disturbing. Most people are not thinking independently. They are reacting automatically. A compliment changes their confidence. A criticism ruins their entire day. A breakup destroys their identity. A failure convinces them to quit. A temptation overrides their long-term goals within seconds. Reaction after reaction after reaction. No awareness. No control. Just emotional reflexes pretending to be personality. Marcus trained himself to interrupt this cycle. That is the real meaning of Stoicism. Not suppressing emotion, mastering interpretation. Because events alone do not destroy people. Interpretations do. Two men can experience the exact same hardship. One becomes sharper. The other becomes bitter. The event was identical. The internal meaning was different. Marcus realized this while watching entire armies panic under pressure. Fear spread faster than disease because humans unconsciously copy emotional states from each other. That still happens now. One negative opinion online can psychologically infect millions. One trend can alter behavior globally. One emotional narrative can control entire populations. And most people never notice they are being conditioned because the conditioning feels normal. Marcus would ask a dangerous question here. Are your thoughts actually yours? Or were they installed gradually by environment, entertainment, insecurity, and social pressure? Most people cannot answer honestly. Because true self-observation is uncomfortable. You begin noticing contradictions. You say you value discipline, yet constantly negotiate with comfort. You say you want peace, yet feed your mind chaos daily. You say you want freedom, yet depend emotionally on approval from people you barely respect. Marcus forced himself to confront these contradictions constantly. That is why his private writings feel almost surgical psychologically. He did not write to impress people. Many of his writings were never intended to be read publicly at all. Imagine that. The words that transformed millions were originally conversations with himself. That matters. Because it means the wisdom was authentic. Not performance. Not branding. Not image management. Just brutal self-confrontation. And that is rare. Especially now. Modern culture rewards performance more than truth. People carefully construct identities online while privately feeling disconnected from themselves. Marcus did the opposite. He stripped illusion away. Every day he reminded himself. You will die. Your reputation will disappear. The people praising you will disappear too. The body weakens. Power fades. Pleasure fades. Everything external eventually dissolves. At first this sounds dark. Until you understand what it frees you from. Fear loses power once impermanence becomes fully accepted. Most anxiety comes from trying to preserve things that were never permanent to begin with. Status, beauty, attention, validation, possessions, control over other people. Marcus stopped building his identity on unstable foundations. That is why external chaos could not easily destroy him. Meanwhile, most people today build their identity entirely on unstable foundations. That is why they emotionally collapse so easily. One rejection feels like annihilation. One failure feels permanent. One criticism feels personal. But Marcus viewed life differently. He saw himself as temporary, a participant in a larger process, not the center of the universe. Ironically, this made him psychologically stronger than people obsessed with proving their importance. Because ego creates fragility. A fragile ego constantly needs protection. It needs praise, recognition, superiority, attention. And once someone controls your ego, they control you. Marcus refused that dependency. He trained himself to act correctly even when nobody noticed. That is one of the hardest things a human being can do. Because most people are motivated by visibility. Remove applause and their discipline disappears. Remove attention and their standards collapse. Marcus believed character mattered most precisely when nobody was watching. That is where real identity is formed. Not publicly, privately, in repeated invisible decisions. The extra hour of work nobody sees. The temptation resisted silently. The emotional reaction controlled internally. The discipline maintained without external reward. That is where self-respect is built. And without self-respect, nothing else matters. Not money, not influence, not appearance. Because internally you know when you are betraying yourself. Marcus understood this deeply, which is why he wrote something terrifyingly accurate. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Think carefully about that. Your repeated thoughts are not harmless. They shape perception. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior shapes identity. Identity shapes destiny. That chain silently determines most human lives. And yet people guard almost everything except the quality of their own mind. They protect passwords more carefully than attention. They defend possessions more carefully than peace. Marcus saw this as madness. Because the mind is the source from which everything else flows. Corrupt the mind and eventually everything collapses. Strengthen the mind and suffering becomes survivable. That does not mean life becomes painless. Marcus never believed that fantasy. His own life proves otherwise. He lost children, faced war constantly, endured betrayal repeatedly, watched death surround him for years. Stoicism was never about escaping pain. It was about refusing to become broken by it. There is a difference. Weak men think strength means avoiding suffering. Strong men understand suffering is unavoidable. The question is what it transforms you into. And this is where Marcus became dangerous psychologically. He stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead he asked, "What does this require from me?" That shift changes everything. Victimhood disappears. Responsibility returns. Energy stops flowing into complaint and starts flowing into adaptation. Most people never make this transition. They stay emotionally trapped in resistance, arguing with reality internally, demanding fairness from a world that never promised it. Marcus abandoned that illusion, and because he abandoned illusion, he became harder to defeat mentally. There is a lesson hidden here most people miss completely. Peace is not found by controlling circumstances. Peace is found by reducing internal chaos. That is why some people have wealth yet remain miserable, and others endure hardship while remaining composed. The internal world determines the external experience more than people realize. Marcus mastered this internally before he ever mastered it externally. And that is why his philosophy survived empires themselves. Because governments collapse, technology changes, civilizations disappear, human psychology remains. If this already exposed something uncomfortable in you, like the video now. Not for the algorithm, for yourself. Because most people consume truth passively, then return immediately to the same unconscious patterns controlling them. Do something different. Comment the phrase, "I control myself." Not because words magically change reality, but because identity begins with repeated decisions. Share this with someone who is silently losing themselves to distraction, emotion, or external validation. And subscribe if you are ready to stop living reactively. Because what Marcus discovered next goes deeper than discipline. Much deeper. He discovered why most human beings stay trapped in invisible cycles for their entire lives without ever realizing it. And once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it.